Day 2, huh? Both of you. Glutton for punishment. Yeah.
You don't come up to visit me anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I have to wait.
All right, quick mic check for myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyone need anything while I'm up here? Get a little focus. White balance. I don't have anything white. Need anything? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Getting ready for the 12 o'clock presser.
Give it a day or so. You know.
Perfect.
Also,
Well, that's appointment set. It's going to be my stock answer. We're going to get that right.
Yeah, exactly.
We also need to commit to voting for it on Wednesday to go with the delegate. So. That is logical, right? Yeah. But it is just a year they open the gate. It's not really good. Yeah, but you're going to debate just for the cost. Sure. Sure. That's an embarrassment.
Well, you know, you can, when there's owners speech, but I may not do it when you get a question and answer.
Also, what happens if it's going to be done on Thursday?
Just help them. Because there's some medicine stuff they need to figure out, like water and stuff like that.
They decided not to do that.
The Thursday deadline? Yeah.
Well, anytime the Sens set the deadline for Thursday when they all want to leave at 1:45 was not exactly like best.
Etched in stone.
Yeah. Don't block the doorway.
I'm starting to pick up on that.
They also don't
Can't
work
block
on
the
Fridays.
doorway. She's
Saturday.
gonna come in there.
Actually, a schedule like that. I'll be available from 6 p.m. on Monday until 1:45 on Thursday.
Tell your employer that.
Yeah, but occasionally until like 6 a.m. like twice a year.
But like twice a year,
Yeah.
I'll stay till Friday.
Completely. And then like the occasional 1:30 a.m. on Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
Once a decade, I'll blow off Christmas.
Exactly.
Yes. Maybe.
Or I'll at least talk about it.
I'll threaten it.
But most weeks about 3.5 days. It's pretty good.
something 200. 280. That's why I have a 200, but I don't have enough of those. Yeah. Just because it's like things. You can focus too. Yeah.
I feel like
2 minutes?
Yeah. I'm the advanced guy.
That's good. Much better than 2.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Much better.
glad she joined UPA. Probably not gonna win any favors without
Cranky old white man.
I hope you're not planning on being there, Scotty. Good answer.
When do you leave it? I thought you were already out of here.
Kevin Mark keeps saying not soon enough.
So long. There's some lights in here I get banding on. It's the only lights, the only place in hell I get the banding. They're stripes, hard stripes.
Where are they? Scotty, we have someone come in here to look at the lights? Because he knows your new lights put in last summer.
No, I'm trying to figure out what it is, and then
With the LEDs, because we changed it some, because there was a little bit of a shadow back there, it lights up the back better.
you don't get it with tungsten lights. I mean, just incandescent lights. But that it's not. I mean, it's just the electronic shutters in these mirrorless cameras.
Okay.
We all got to live together.
Yeah, that is good. You know, being fast on this would have worked good. But whatever. Problem is this.
No. Sure you don't hear it enough.
No.
Can't say. I think it's showstopper. No, it's not. I don't know who did it. I probably loaned it to Michael. And he
I think
did
I
it.
had doubles. You probably lent that to me and I wrote it.
No.
I would say it's for someone who's shooting
Oh,
some kind of video.
No, wait, no one was sitting here.
It's bigger than this.
No, it's fine, go ahead.
are you sure you're not?
Yeah, it's bigger than a CS card.
I don't need to. I'm just thinking question-wise, sometimes the.
Will there be charts?
There's going to be a chart.
Okay.
It's always fun, especially with 7 senators.
7 senators. The best thing about this room is
I made the door stop for that.
Really?
That's my phrase. No, open the door, I don't know. I don't think it is a door, because it can't go back that far, right? Yeah. What is that?
What is that?
Mike knows everything, you gotta find
That's
out.
actually holding on the building.
It's a
Don't
support
pull it
stand.
out.
Setting up here, they forgot how.
It'll set off a chain reaction that will demolish the entire building.
They forgot how to set up here. After a review of insurance.
Let's see. I think you put this in,
reflecting. Can you rotate it clockwise, counterclockwise?
Yeah,
There you go.
that's better, that's better.
Green, very
It'll come out someday. I need a TV guy. Cameras have come a long way.
There's no like doing that, right? I'm like screwed up walking down the aisle. It's a bridal party. I gotta go.
Oh, they can.
Yeah, a while back, a couple months ago, I wore several. I was running stairs in Oriental Park and running downstairs and then I was like sandbagged brown without me being aware. Because I guess it had rained really and I stepped on the sandbag and moldy roll out, then in over itself, or the one like both sides. That's just a bit bummer. But at the bus, you never find yourself in a meeting with me, but if you do,
I have plenty of times.
let me know. I have a great one.
Oh, yeah. Weird.
She's awesome. So we're getting there.
I dislocated my pelvis once.
I don't wanna know how
Yeah,
that
do I want to know how that goes?
Probably not.
Seems like maybe not a family-friendly story.
No, it's not, no, no, it's nothing like that. No, I.
Sorry, I had to be said because everyone was
No, it's not. Alright, it's basically when you. Heads up, guys.
See that sign, sit down with the sign, pick it up. That's why it worked. I'm gonna tweet it. Always on power.
Makes one rather irascible.
No problem.
Let's move this over. Can we get this over here?
Yes, yes, yes.
Everyone see it?
Not one reporter stood for you, Chuck, when you walked in.
That's right.
Where are the applause?
I know. Where's the trumpets?
Okay, good afternoon to you all. And I'm proud to be joined by many of my colleagues. This great legislation, which has had so many people be involved, but was really led by Michael Bennet and Sherrod Brown and Ron Wyden and Cory Booker and Raphael Warnock. And Stabenow has gotten the message out, and I have become a great devotee of it. So we have everybody here. And, of course, our finance chairman will work on it as we go forward in our budget resolution with instructions. Okay, so thank you for being here. So, to quote our dear friend, former Senator and current President Joe Biden, this is a big effing deal. One of the biggest effing deals that's been passed in decades and decades. Today's the day that we say to the parents of America, help is on the way. Today, the child tax credit payments, which Democrats secured as part of the American Rescue Plan, will begin going out to American families across the country. Tens of millions of families are going to see extra money hit their bank accounts because of this program. Over the past 20 years, child care has become ludicrously expensive. Caring for a child is about equal these days to the cost of buying a new car every single year. Poor families struggle to keep their kids out of poverty. Middle-class families struggle to stay in the middle class because the costs of raising a child are so expensive. On top of that, everything from diapers to housing to health care to college tuition has risen in price while wages are flat. The Roosevelt Institute has put out a study, which I'm going to send to all my colleagues. For the bottom 70% of America, earning power was flat from 2000 to 2020. Earning power is flat, things go up. My grandson, my daughter buys diapers for my grandson. I'm amazed at the price compared to when we used to buy diapers for her. Just incredible, one little thing. And of course, then, with the pandemic, life got even harder for families that are just trying to give their children the best opportunities. So this child tax credit is a double successful hit for the middle class and for the poor. For the middle class, to help people stay in the middle class. For the poor, close to half the children in poverty will get out of poverty. When a child is born into poverty through no fault of her or his own, they often don't get fed properly, educated properly, proper health care, proper housing. And by the time they're in their 14, 15, 16-year-olds, they're in a deep ditch. Now, some of them, to their credit, climb out of that ditch, but many don't. This will prevent many more from getting stuck in that ditch. So it helps the middle class and helps the poor, both. A vast majority of parents will receive that monthly check of $300 for each child under 6, $250 for each child between 6 and 17. We are sending taxpayer dollars right back to American parents. This will amount to a substantial and potentially life-altering tax cut for American families. This is one of the largest tax cuts average American families have gotten in a while. 4 million kids, as I said, will be lifted out of poverty. I've met with families in New York. You know, when you're a poor person and you're worried about having enough money to pay the rent so your kids won't be kicked out of their house, or having enough money to buy food so they can have some meat, this is a godsend. This is a godsend. So Republicans have claimed to be the party of tax cuts, but in reality, they're only the party of tax cuts for the wealthy and well-connected. This tax cut, which comes in the form of a check to so many American families, every Republican voted no. They all voted yes when you cut taxes on the top 1%. They all voted no when you cut taxes on the middle class and the poor. We, the Democrats, are the party of tax cuts for the middle class. And I'm proud that the Senate majority is making it clear that we're fighting to give American kids and American families a much stronger, brighter future. Senator Stabenow.
Thank you. This is a very, very important day. 9 out of every 10 children are in families that will be helped starting today with the expanded child tax credit. This also really is about who we are versus who the Republicans are, and it couldn't be clearer. 2017, Republicans passed a $2 trillion tax cut, mainly for the wealthiest Americans. And we are demonstrating today who we're fighting for, who we care about, that we see and support and have the backs of the majority of Americans who are working hard to hold things together every day. Last week, I spent all week around Michigan talking to families, listening, explaining what was going to be coming, had moms and dads coming up to me literally with tears in their eyes saying, I can't believe that you actually understand what's happening in my family and that there's going to be support. A wonderful woman, Anita Cobb, who lives in Lansing, said that the tax cut would absolutely help family like hers. And she said, the past few years have taken a toll on us. Virtual school, scrambling for childcare, and all the other countless frustrations we feel as parents. My family is so excited to have this cushion that is sure to make things easier for us, and we can all use a little easier time in giving us a little more breath, a little more breather room. And I agree, people need a little more breather room, and that's what this is about, helping them cover their costs. And the truth of the matter is that too often around here, and certainly when the Republicans in charge, the tax cuts go to those at the very, very top. We have the backs of the American people who need a tax cut, who need support to be lifted out of poverty. And this is a great day for the vast majority of Americans.
Thanks, Deb. I can't think of two people who did more to put this on the map and make it happen than Michael Bennet and Sherrod Brown. They were amazing and relentless and just so
Annoying.
Michael was never annoying.
Oh, that's not, that's
You asked for it. Both of them are great and two of our best members, and really just convinced now the country how great this is. Michael Bennet.
Thank you, Sherrod. Thank you, leader, and it really is a great privilege to be here today on this amazing day for America. Some of you know I was the superintendent of the Denver Public Schools before I was in this job. Most of the kids in Denver live in poverty, and many of their parents are working 2 and 3 jobs, and no matter what they do, they can't get their kids out of poverty. And as I've traveled as a senator, the state of Colorado the last 10 years, to sum up those town halls, it's really easy. It's people coming and saying, Michael, we're working really hard, harder than we ever worked, and we can't afford some combination of housing, health care, higher education, early childhood education, daycare so we can work. We can't save. We feel like our kids are going to live a more diminished life than the life that we lived. And all of that, from the parents in the Denver Public Schools to the parents I've met in rural and urban Colorado, is an anecdotal reflection of an economy that for 50 years, has worked really well for the top 10% of Americans and hasn't worked for anybody else. And instead of helping with the matter, Washington has actually made it worse. It's hard to believe, but if you look at the Bush tax cuts and the Trump tax cuts, and you think about those policy decisions from the vantage point of a mayor in any one of our communities, the mayor of Rochester, the mayor of Denver had said, I'm going to borrow a whole bunch of money that we've never borrowed before. And you'd ask them, well, that makes me nervous. What are you going to spend it on? Are you going to spend it on our parks? No. Are you going to spend it on our infrastructure? No. On mental health? No. On homelessness? No. On schools? No. What are you going to do with it? I'm going to take the proceeds of this and I'm going to give it to the 2 richest neighborhoods in Rochester or Denver. That is what their tax policy has been at a time when we have had the worst income inequality that we have had since 1929. This completely changes the page on that, turns the page on that, and makes sure that the people in America who actually need the help most get help and get it on a monthly basis to secure the middle class and to give people a chance to get their kids out of poverty. Because of what's happening today, over half the kids in this country are going to be lifted out of poverty, and I think that is a demonstration from Washington, D.C., that our kids are visible to us, that they're not someone else's kids, they're America's kids, that we will not accept the idea that the United States of America should have among the highest child poverty rates of any industrialized country in the world, that childhood poverty has to be a permanent feature of our economy or our democracy. Today we're saying no, and we're saying yes to our kids, and I think to our future. And I thank everybody up here, every single one, and Joe Biden in particular, for his leadership in making this happen. Let me turn it over now to my great, incredible partner from the state of Ohio, Sherrod Brown.
And Michael, thank you for the way we teamed up and did all this, all of us. March 6th, I was sitting on the floor about noon that day. It was a Saturday. We had voted for 13 hours that night. Twice, once with Ron Wyden pushing back, we defeated the Republican effort to take the child tax credit out by 1 vote. Then final passage on March 6th, about noon, 12:30, we passed the whole bill, the rescue plan. I remember turning to Bob Casey, who's been a great ally on a lot of other children's issues, turn to Bob Casey and say, this is the best day of my political career, because we're going to cut as Chuck said, we're going to cut the child poverty rate in half. We're going to make such a difference to so many families. 92% of Ohio children are eligible for this, 92% in my state. This will mean the checks today, people should begin to check their bank accounts in their mailboxes today, tomorrow, Saturday, Monday. People are going to see these checks in their bank accounts and going to see this direct deposit in their bank accounts, see this check in their mailbox. If they're eligible and they don't receive these checks, they should go to childtaxcredit.gov and sign up. This is close to universal. It will make a huge difference in people's lives. But don't take the word of any of us. I did a number of, as Debbie talked about, I did a number of roundtables in Ohio and listened to families talk about this. One woman said, I'm not going to have to struggle at the end of the month every month to figure out the last week how I'm going to pay my rent. It takes away that anxiety she has. And another mother said, I can send my boy to a week summer camp. I've never been able to do that. He's 9 years old. Another father said, I can buy equipment for my daughter to play fast pitch softball. Another said, I can now afford a little more child care so I can work and get a little bit ahead. Another said, I can put $100 a month now aside for each of my children so they can go to Lorraine Community College or Sinclair State Community College. And the beauty of this child tax credit, the beauty of this is we are saying to parents, you make the decision how you're going to spend this money. Chuck Schumer's not making, Debbie Stabenow, Raphael, no, we aren't telling them how to spend the money. We're saying, here's $300 per child if your child's 5 or under. Here's $250 per child. You make the decision as parents. If we want to empower parents to parenting is work. Any of you that are parents or aunts or uncles, or if you are obnoxious kids for your parents, you all understand how hard it is to raise children. And this gives these parents a little more opportunity. So we talk about infrastructure. Sure, it's highways and bridges, but infrastructure is setting a basis, setting a foundation so people can launch their children into a better life. In what better way to do this than the child tax credit? In the end, government's always about whose side are you on. Clearly, everybody up here is on the side of children, on the side of family, on the side of the future of this country. And that's what's made a huge difference. And one other point about the child tax credit, it puts a lot of money into a lot of middle class and working class neighborhoods. And that money is going to be spent at local stores and local, going to a diner once in a while, going to the local shoe store, doing all the things that parents will be spending money on in helping the economy in those communities that are so often overlooked. This will make a huge difference for a generation for our children.
Thank you. We've had so many great people pushing this. It's such a major piece of legislation. It doesn't happen with just one or two people. It happens with a whole bunch. And among the people leading the charge were Senators Booker and our new Senator Warnock. Let me call on each of them.
Thank you. This is one of the most historic days in American history, and I'm not being hyperbolic. I remember the last Congress, myself and then Senator Harris joined on the incredible bill of Bennet and Brown to begin to have this vision that one day we would be a nation that would pass a bill that would take us from the bottom of all of our peer nations, the 36 peer nations, we're second from last in what we do and benefits to people with children, that we would expand that in a significant way. On the campaign trail, I think the best conversations that Senator Bennet and I had were the possibility that somehow we would get the child tax credit expanded. As soon as Reverend Warnock was elected with John Ossoff, we got on the phone, Bennet, Brown, and myself, and began to hatch a plan. Before Joe Biden raised his hand, we would talk to their policy team about getting this done. And now here we are, years and years after work on this side of the Capitol and led by Rosa DeLauro and others on the other side of the Capitol, making what is unequivocally the largest middle-class tax cut we have seen in America effectively in the last century. What we are seeing as of today is after wages for middle class and working class families have been stagnant for a generation, we are seeing the biggest help that 90% of children's families in America is getting in perhaps history. And finally, in the United States of America, where we have the moral obscenity of the highest child poverty rates amongst our peer nations, we are finally doing something significantly to cut that rate of child poverty in half and ending the savage injustices that are heaped upon families. This is an incredible, historic day, and I am so grateful for the leadership of Chuck Schumer, Debbie Stabenow, Ron Wyden, for helping us to move this across the aisle. And dear God, I want to say hallelujah, amen. I am grateful for the Reverend Raphael Warnock.
Amen. One of the best new members we have ever had is Raphael Warnock of Georgia.
You're too kind. Thank you so much.
Amen.
And Senator Booker has preached at my church, and I thought maybe he should get a license or a certificate of ordination. Listen, today is a historic day, and it is in this case, it is a wonderful reminder that elections have consequences.
Yes.
I'm so grateful that we were able to deliver from the great state of Georgia, and as a result of that, 2.2 million Georgia children will see their lives changed in a remarkable and substantive way beginning today. This makes my heart leap for joy. The truth is that children are the casualties of every generation. They don't have powerful lobbyists. They don't have moneyed interests advocating for them often in government. And so they are marginalized. This bill represents a real pushing against the grain of what so often happens. I came of age when folks were talking about something called trickle-down economics. And I can tell you, I come from communities where we've been waiting for the trickle-down for a long time, and it never trickles down. But this is good federal policy. It is the recognition that when you give a tax cut not to the richest of the rich, but to working families, to struggling people, you know, they go and they buy extravagant things like baby diapers and food for their children and a coat as they begin a new year in school. And so this impacts their personal economy. It impacts the economy of Georgia. It impacts the American economy. This is not theoretical stuff for me. I was one of those poor children. And I know personally the difference that good federal public policy makes. And as a pastor, I have seen these families come to the church door time and time again. Our hearts are much larger than our magnitude to respond. This is the kind of thing that we need. And it's coming just in time, just a few weeks before the opening of school, as parents are trying to figure out their way forward. And I'm so grateful that we got this done. It's a great day in America. It's a great day for all of America's children. Later today, I'll go home and kiss my lovely Chloe and Caleb, my two toddlers at home. In a real sense, they'll be okay, but I do this work because I know that my children will not be okay, really, until other people's children are okay. And that's what this is about.
Pastor, thank you. And finally, the person as chair of the Finance Committee who helped shepherd this through and who is going to make sure that as we move to the budget resolution with reconciliation instructions, we extend it, is Senator Wyden. So that's why he's batting cleanup here today.
Thank you, Leader Schumer. My colleagues were so powerful. I'm just going to make a couple of quick points. First is the child tax credit is now before the Senate Finance Committee. And you've got all these wonderful advocates for kids there. We're going to have lots of meetings about taxes and priorities, and we make a commitment today in the Senate and to the public that every single time there's a discussion about tax policy in the weeks ahead, and there will be many of them, that we will be pushing to extend the child tax credit for as long as we possibly can. Count on it. Every single time there is a discussion about tax priorities, we're going to be zeroing in on what our colleagues have been saying. Second and last point. Listening to all this and coming up as I did, the leader knows this, as director of the Great Panthers, Social Security reordered the priorities of America with respect to the elderly. What my wonderful colleagues are doing here is now again reordering the priorities of America to give kids a fairer shot, a better chance to get a good education, a better chance to get a good job, a better chance at the pursuit of happiness. So when I walk into that committee and Sherrod and Michael and Debbie, with the help of our colleagues, are pounding away to extend the child tax credit, I'm going to listen. I'm going to call the majority leader when it's over. And I'm going to say once again, we can be very, very proud of the incredible team we have. And I'm honored to be able to be a part of it as chair of the committee.
As former member of the Finance Committee, I have huge respect for those words and the members who are on it. Okay, we'll take a few. We have vote. We have to. How soon is the vote? What's going on? They said we go. Okay, we got to vote soon. Yes.
Sir, if I can ask you off topic real quick, there's this reporting that several Democrats reached out to General Milley about concerns that President Trump would not leave office. That Milley was concerned about a coup. Did you express those concerns?
I'm going to keep my conversations between myself and General Milley private. That's it. Next.
Should public schools and colleges be able to mandate that students get the COVID-19 vaccine?
We're not going to. We're going to do. Yeah, let's stick with child tax credit. Okay. Yes.
A number of you have acknowledged some of the issues for accessibility for the non-filer tool for the CTC, and obviously that would leave out millions of kids in deep poverty. Why are those issues so persistent? What are you guys doing to make sure?
No, anyone whose child has a Social Security number can go to irs.gov/CTC, and it's a very simple way to file. And we're urging people. I had 3 press conferences in New York, each with different legislators, urging that be done. It's a very simple. I went on the website myself. It's very simple and easy to do. As long as your kids have a Social Security number, whether you're a citizen or have an ITIN, go to the website, folks. Next.
Let me answer that real quick too. I spent a half an hour with Commissioner Reddick 2 weeks ago. He and I agreed that having that portal work, childtaxcredit.gov. He said, and I said, the most important thing we've ever done in our public lives, that roughly 90% of people are going to have it the other way, that they get it automatically. But this other 10%, we are going to fight every month until we get everybody signed up, and they will get retroactive to July 15th.
Yes. Go ahead.
Leader Schumer, many Republicans are upset about the deadline you announced this morning for the bipartisan bill next week. Are you concerned that this deadline could cause the talks?
Look, I've talked to some of our Democratic members of the bipartisan group. They're making very good progress. There is no reason why we can't start voting next Wednesday, and that's what we're going to do. Yes?
The range of a timeline for extending the CTC in the budget resolution? Is it a few weeks? Is it months? Is it years?
Oh, well, we certainly want to extend it for as long as we can, given the fiscal constraints. One of the most important things in this bill, and it will be extended for a robust amount of time. Yes?
What kind of undocumented immigrants could be included in these?
If your parents have an ITIN and the kids have a Social Security number, they can get it. Yes?
How do you respond to Republicans who say that $3.5 trillion, which would include an extension of the child tax credit, would cause inflation?
The experts like Secretary Yellen, like Chairman Powell, who's hardly some left-wing liberal, believe that these are certainly needed and that we have to do a lot to get people jobs, to get people with better lives. That is the greatest danger in America. The inflationary danger, I don't believe, is close to the needs for this.
Senator Warnock and I heard Jay Powell for 2.5 hours today in committee. He dismisses that. He answered that. Republicans will keep saying because they have nothing else.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Plus, this is going to a longer period.
You don't know.
Sounds pretty wish listy